What's up, everybody? My wife with Money Pit Garage. My mustache looks bad. Keeping it for work. No shave November. It's for morale. Everybody loves it but my wife. Today I'm going to be powder coating a Hayabusa frame, doing primer, gloss black, and then splatter using powder water, which is a question I get asked about a lot. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So this is a Hayabusa frame. It's already been chemically stripped using 1010P. It has been outgassed for a few hours, and then it's also been media blasted in my cabinet. I'm not going to show you the actual stripping process or the prep or anything. You can watch one of my other videos on the 1010P. I'm just going to get into powder coating it. This is for an out-of-state client. I've had the frame for a while. It's just been sitting in my shop, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take care of it for him. He's a repeat offender. It's the second or third time I've powder coated something for him, and he always likes to be different. He doesn't want anything just plain. So like I said, we're going to be doing primer to protect it, super durable wet black from Columbia Coatings, and then splatter some neon bright colors on there just so it really pops. All right, guys, the frame's already prepped. The oven is heating up right now, so I'm gonna go and mix my powder water. And honestly, it might take a few hours for everything to settle and dissolve, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you what to do now. So this is powder water from Columbia Coatings. It says to mix a 1-to-1 ratio, but I found that every powder, since it has a different density and consistency, that ratio doesn't always work. So I just do it by pretty much by texture. You want it to be kind of runny, kind of soupy, almost like a chowder. And I'm not going to do a whole bunch in each cup because I'm only doing splatter. This isn't a big piece. And I can add two after everything's all mixed up. First thing I'm going to use is fluorescent yellow. I'm not going to use a whole lot, I said, but with the fluorescent yellow, I'm actually going to mix some Glow Be Clear in it. And hopefully it cures at the same time and that neon will glow. I've never done it like this before, so we will see. I'm definitely going to add some more powder water to that. This is going to be really pasty, so I don't have the right mixture right here. All right, I'm not going to make y'all sit here and watch me mix this for 20 minutes. It didn't take that long. But this is the consistency you want. See, it's soupy, it's runny. But all those bubbles in there, you do not want those. So the bubbles, of course, are gonna rise to the top. I'm gonna stick my finger in there and flick it on the frame, and the bubbles will stay on there. So then I'm gonna have an inconsistent flow out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stir it, and I'm just gonna let it sit overnight if I have to, until those bubbles dissipate. Because the last thing I want is those bubbles popping up in the powder. Same thing with the purple. This is Raven's purple. All those bubbles, they need to dissipate. Same with the purple. All those bubbles in there, they've got to dissipate. Might be a little too thin, I might have to add a little bit more. Very precise measuring, as you can see. I've done this quite a few times, so I just go by consistency. If it's pasty, I know I need to add powder water. If it's too thin and runny, I know it's just gonna run on the part like water. So I know I need to add more powder. So you want it kind of like a clam chowder. Almost like blood, maybe a little bit thicker. See all those bubbles? I do not want bubbles. And sometimes it takes hours for them to die down. Some neon pink action. Look at that, that is bright. Very precise measurements. The only way to go. Pink's all mixed up. Like Pepto-Bismol. So that's consistency one right there. Those bubbles, they will dissipate. I think I'm gonna do a blue last. Need more purple. It's a little thin. My bench here is covered in crap. I'm doing a rear end for another client. I'm waiting on the bearings to come in so I can put it back together. Then I will post that video in the next week or so. Waiting on parts. All right, so the bottle says 1-to-1 ratio. The closer you get to that ratio, the less bubbles you have. So it's thick like a chowder, very few bubbles, and what's in there will dissipate. In the beginning, the yellow had a lot of bubbles, so I added more powder to it. And as you can see, all the big bubbles are gone and the small ones will dissipate. So I'm going with fluorescent yellow with Globy Clear. I'm hoping it mixes and it glows. If not, it'll still be neon yellow with neon pink. Snowshoe Blue, which is an ode to his previous bike that I powder coated for him, a bunch of stuff on it. This is the blue that I used on it, so he'll be surprised about that. And whatever purple this is. Oh, there you go. Using those four colors, I'm sorry. So the bottle says 1-to-1 mixture. Like I said, I don't weigh it out or anything, but this is the correct consistency right here. It's almost like blood, like fake blood, if you ever messed with it before. And the closer you get to a 1-to-1 mixture, the less bubbles you have. So it's still got a few small bubbles in there, but they will dissipate over time. Those big bubbles, just because I had too much liquid. So I've got a Snowshoe Blue, which is an ode to one of the last jobs I did for the same guy on his other Gixxer Busa. It's a mixture, that's why I say that. So he'll appreciate that. He doesn't know what colors I'm using. And then I've got neon pink. I've got a fluorescent yellow mixed with Globy Clear. I've never mixed the neon and then the Globy before. I hope it works. If it doesn't, it's just gonna make the fluorescent yellow a little bit brighter. And then I've got a purple here. So I'm gonna splatter that all over the gloss black frame. But as you can see, I got the mixture pretty well. It's pretty consistent. Very few bubbles, and the bubbles that are in there will dissipate. All right, I got the frame hung up. I'm ready to shoot the primer on it. I'm not going to tape a bunch of stuff up just because it takes forever, and anytime you're trying to do a cylinder like that, it's pretty impossible. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a vacuum to it and suck all the powder out in the areas it doesn't need to go, like this bearing surface right here. But we're gonna get primer first, and then the gloss black. The oven is preheated to 450. I always put it on 450, and that way when I open the door, it's already, the oven itself is up to 450. That way the gloss black will flow out nice and smooth real quick. Of course, I'll drop it down to 400 once it gets in there and is up to temp, but I'm not gonna completely let it cure because I'm gonna lay the other powder on there. Got a bunch of silicone plugs I'm gonna put in here. Well, these are areas with threads. I don't want to get powder in there because then I'll have to clean them out. That's a lot of work. I'm not going to bore you with 10 minutes of me finding all the holes in the plug. Insert joke here. All right, 7 years ago, finally got it all plugged up. I'm going to hit it with some OGF epoxy primer, and then I'm going to vacuum out where the bearings go, and yeah, put it in the oven. missed a plug. You gotta think about powder. There you go. Primer. Bearing surfaces are clear. Ready to go in the oven. Alright, she's in the oven. Bottle says 10 minutes at 400 degrees. I don't want it to fully cure, so I'm going to leave it in there probably about 10 minutes because it's going to take a while for the part to get up to temp. It's not even going to hit 400 degrees in 10 minutes, so I'm just going to let it sit in there. So I'll close out and give it a couple more. Alright, so I had a little equipment failure. My phone died on me. So I've already powder coated the frame in super durable wet black. I've not cured it yet, as you can see. I'm going to pull all the plugs out of it and clear out the bearing area again, and then I will put it back in the oven. The bearing surfaces are cleaned up. Almost all the plugs are out. And it's ready to go back in the oven. As you can see, I shot it cold. You can tell because it's not glossed out at all. I always shoot cold because if you mess up, I can just blow it off and start over. If I get any powder in the bearing area, it's going to be a pain in the butt to get out. I'm going to have to sand it, etc. And then if you shoot it hot, you can get too much powder and it'll actually drip. So that's why I always shoot cold. I have a KFX1 gun. I've done a video on it as well, and I've had a lot of success with it. I haven't had any issues with Faraday areas, so shoot it cold, guys. All right, frame is back in the oven. Oven right now is at 300 degrees, so I lost 100 degrees, put it in the oven. Excuse me. It took me a minute to get the rack in there. So it'll climb quickly. I'll let it get up to 450. I'm not gonna do a full cure because I'm gonna lay another stage of powder on there, even though it's just splatter. I don't want it to fully cure because if it fully cures, the powder potentially could not adhere well and bind with the black. So the primer's already been in there. I left it 13 minutes. The oven was at like 280 degrees when I started. And I just let it climb. I let it gel out. After I gelled out, I let it sit in there for another 3 or 4 minutes. Pulled it out, let it cool, shot the black, pulled the plugs, etc., etc. So the oven's already at 350 right now. I'll set it for probably 12 minutes, and that'll let the part probably get up to about 280, 300 degrees. It'll gel out. I'll leave it in there for another 3 minutes, and then I'll let it cool. And I will shoot the splatter. Dirt in this mustache makes it even worse. So the frame's been in the oven for 6 minutes. The oven's at 450, and let's check the actual temp of it. So 298, 324, so it's good in there. All right, so it's sat in the oven for about 11 minutes. Frame temp is anywhere between 320 and 340, depending on the area. Nice and glossy. We're gonna let it cool and then throw some splatter on it. All right, see how the bubbles dissipated in the blue? There's a couple small ones, but it'll be fine. So I'm getting ready to just flick it all over this frame right here. I have a very technical method. I stick my fingers in it and I flick it. So I'm gonna do one color at a time because I don't want them to mix. See no bubbles? So there's the blue. I don't want to clutter it up too much, so I'm gonna stick it back in the oven for about 5 minutes, let the blue gel out, and then come back and hit it with another color. Meantime, gonna wash my hands. All right, so I did the first step. Just put the blue in there, it is back in the oven. It'll sit in the oven for about 4 minutes, just enough for the blue to harden up, enough where it's not gonna mix with the other colors. I'll pull it out, let it cool, which the frame shouldn't be too hot. After only been in there for 4 minutes. And then I'll hit it with the other color. I'm only doing 4 minutes because A, I want it to gel out and harden and not mix, but B, I don't want to get the frame too hot because I don't want to over bake it. The black's already gelled out, it is not fully cured, and you know, the 4 minutes here and there isn't going to make it over cure, it'll actually make it fully cured. So the base of the primer should be cure now, and the black still has to completely cure, and with the 4 minutes over and over, it'll completely cure. All right, so I was in there for about 4 minutes. Let's see if it's hard. Yep, so I can't scrape it off, so that means it's hard enough. All right, it's cool a little bit, so now I'm gonna use my technical method and I'm gonna put the pink on there. Very technical method, guys. And flick. One thing that's cool about this, it still is powder even though it's in a liquid form. So right here it's going to drip down to the hole. I don't want it to, so I can actually just wipe it off. Well, it got hard. But I can wipe it right off so I don't mess anything up. Straight out of the 90s. Alright guys, straight out of the 90s. Thanks for watching.